Hey everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Jenny, and as always, I'm here with Mark, our resident tech guru. Mark, how's it times going?
Jenny, I'm doing great. Actually, I'm super pumped about today's topic. We're diving into Microchip's brand new PIC32A MCU family. And, oh man, where do I even begin? These things are packed with features.
I've heard some buzz about them. They're 32-bit microcontrollers, right? But, what makes them stand out? There are tons of MCUs out there.
Exactly. That's the key question. It's the time integration times, Jenny. They've crammed in high-performance analog peripherals directly onto the chip. Think super-fast ADCs, comparators, op-amps, all working together seamlessly.
Okay, hold on. Let's break that down for our listeners who might not be fluent in tech speak. What's the practical benefit of having all that analog stuff integrated?
Right. So, imagine you're building, say, a smart sensor for an industrial robot. Traditionally, you'd need the MCU, plus times a bunch of separate chips to handle things like signal conditioning and analog to digital conversion. With the PIC32A, a lot of that is already on board.
So, fewer external components, which means a smaller circuit board, lower power consumption, and, I'm guessing, lower cost?
Bingo. You got it. Microchip is claiming up to a 30% reduction in the bill of materials, the BOM, and they're pricing these things at asterisk, under $1 times each when you buy in bulk. That's a big deal for cost-sensitive applications.
Under $1? Wow, that's definitely going to get some attention. But it's not times about cost, is it? What about performance?
Performance is where it really shines. We're talking a 200 MHz CPU, and those integrated ADCs? They can sample at up to 40 times million times samples per second. That's a asterisk lot times of data.
40 million samples per second. What kind of applications even need times that kind of speed?
Think anything that needs to react in real time to rapidly changing analog signals. Battery monitoring systems, motor control, even some advanced sensor fusion applications in automotive, like in the Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, ADS.
Okay, I can see that. So like a car needing to instantly adjust its suspension based on road conditions, something like that?
Precisely. You mentioned automotive. They're also a good fit for industrial automation and even medical devices. Things that cannot fail,
Functional safety. Meaning they've built in features to prevent or mitigate failures?
Precisely. Things like error code correction ECC on the flash memory and RAM. That helps ensure data integrity, even if there are some minor glitches.
ECC. I've heard of that in the context of, computer server memory. It's a built-in system to detect and correct errors, right?
Exactly. And they've also included features like a secure boot process, which helps prevent malicious code from hijacking the system. That's increasingly important in, the age of IoT and connected everything.
That makes sense. Security is a asterisk huge times concern these days. So, okay, shifting gears a bit. How does this PIC32A compare to, say, Microchip's own DSPIC33A digital signal controllers? Are they, direct competitors?
That's a great question. They're more like cousins, I'd say. The DSPIC33A is really optimized for digital signal processing. Things like audio processing or motor control where you need specialized DSP instructions. The PIC32A is more focused on high-performance analog and general-purpose computing.
So it's a matter of choosing the right tool for the job, depending on what the application actually needs.
Precisely. If you need heavy-duty DSP, the DSPIC33A might be a better fit. But if you need a lot of analog integration and fast, general-purpose processing, the PIC32A is a strong contender. Although, and this is something to consider, if you really need extreme DSP performance, there are other specialized chips out there, from companies like Texas Instruments.
Right, so it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. And what about getting started with these chips? What kind of development tools are we talking about?
They've got the usual suspects, the MPLA-BXC32 compiler, the MPLA-BX IDE, all the standard stuff that developers familiar with Microchip products will already know. So, a pretty smooth transition, hopefully.
So a relatively smooth transition for existing Microchip users. But what about, complete newbies? Is there a good support community?
That's a valid point. Microchip has a pretty extensive online forum, and, of course, there are tons of tutorials and example projects floating around the internet. But, like with any new technology, there's going to be a learning curve. It's not times instantaneously times easy.
Fair enough. Okay, looking ahead, Mark, where do you see this technology going? Any, big picture trends?
I think we're going to see more and more integration of analog peripherals onto MCUs. It just makes sense. Reduces system complexity, lowers costs, and improves performance. And with the rise of AI and machine learning at the edge, having this kind of processing power in a small, low-power package is going to be crucial.
AI at the edge, meaning processing data locally on the device rather than sending it up to the cloud?
Right. And the PIC32A, with its 64-bit floating point unit, is well suited for some of those edge AI tasks. Think intelligent sensors that can make decisions in real time, without needing to constantly communicate with a central server. For instance, a smart thermostat learning your preferences, or a drone autonomously navigating an obstacle course.
That's a really interesting point. It's all about bringing more intelligence down to the individual device level. But wouldn't that also raise some concerns, maybe, about privacy and data security if all that processing is happening locally?
That's a good point, Jenny. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? On the one hand, local processing can enhance times privacy because you're not constantly sending data to the cloud, but on the other hand, the device itself becomes a potentially more attractive target for hackers. So robust security features, like the secure boot we talked about, become even more times critical.
Okay, another thing I was wondering about, supply chain issues. We've heard a lot times about those lately. Could that be a factor affecting the availability of these chips?
You're definitely hitting on a key concern, Jenny. The semiconductor industry has been facing, shall we say, challenges in recent years. While Microchip has a good track record, global shortages could still cause delays. It's something developers need to factor into their project timelines, unfortunately.
One more question that comes up. What is the environmental impact going to be with the production of these chips?
That is a very valid question, Jenny. More and more, the impact to our shared environment is a concern. I do know that Microchip is committed to following best practices when it comes to e-waste. I am not sure how they compare to other older models, though.
Well, Mark, this has been super insightful. Thanks for breaking down the PIC32A for us, and for addressing some of those tougher questions, too.
My pleasure, Jenny. Always happy to nerd out about the latest tech. And I'm really excited to see what developers do with these new MCUs.
And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll be holding a poll on our social media asking, which industry do you think will most benefit from these types of chips? Be sure to vote. We'll be back next week with another deep dive into the world of embedded systems. Until then, stay curious.